Hello.
Hey,
How are you doing?
good. How you doing, Sarsky?
I'm doing great. Busy week.
I saw your talk with Jonathan at AWE.
Yeah, what do you think?
That was super cool. I still need to try out the actual game, but yeah, it was like a very interesting talk.
Yeah, we can inspire some people,
Hopefully, yeah.
some big, big agencies to
Mm,
start building games for the web.
yeah. Feels like there's been a few like high-profile things dropping lately. We had obviously Dead Secret Circle Web, and then the final version of Escape Artist finally came out,
Yes. Have you
which
played that?
was yes, I did. It was very good. I also have
Yeah.
a shout out in the credits, along with the WebXR Discord, which is super cool.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to play it very early on
Hmm.
when it was not completely done yet, but it's yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I was very happy to see that a lot of the feedback that I gave during the beta ended up being incorporated. Um, like everything is pick upable now. The piano in the beginning room is actually playable.
It's really nice.
It's super cool. And then Archery Evolution is coming out soon.
Yes. Have you played that already?
No, I haven't had the chance to try it out yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've not played the latest demo. They had a demo on AWE,
Mm-hmm.
but I was so busy. It was insane.
Mm.
I've never experienced anything like that before. I've been at booths before, but it was nonstop. I didn't have time to eat, literally.
Dang. Who were there any other WebXR people that you met there besides Jonathan and crew, of course?
Uh, um, yes, but I forgot names.
Mm.
We had a WebXR little meetup, but there was this coffee thing.
Yeah.
But I was demoing during the coffee thing, so
Mm.
I had other people bringing me coffee, and it was very crowded. But I think a lot of people just came for the free coffee. To be really
Yeah, I
honest,
wouldn't be surprised.
And there was another WebXR meetup, and we didn't know who organized it. And now, I forgot the name.
Um, was it? I know his new username's like Jure, Jure, Jure.
No, no, I've met him as well. Really cool guy.
Mm.
Um, he did the Boyd's thing in the latest JR13K.
Mm.
I think that was him. And really, really original game, but um, he didn't get a lot of good um, responses.
Mm.
Just people, yeah, it was not that, um, uh, yeah, like the shiny next shiny thing.
Mm.
It was a well thought out game. I thought it was one of my favorites. Um, no, but who was? Um, I've met
Hey Arthur.
um, Arthur. I'm so bad with names.
Mm. Do you like remember what their usernames were?
No, that was the funny thing. I know I knew pretty much everybody that was there from White Rabbit,
Mm-hmm.
um, but not by the real names. So that was really weird. One of those things where you know everybody but haven't met anyone before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We also had a dinner with a lot of people and a lot of WebXR people. I've been talking to Fabio.
Oh, Fabio Cortez.
Yes. Um, yeah, and a lot
Was
more people.
was
I don't know their
uh
names.
was Nori there?
Nordy
Noere, the Serpent Rider on Discord. Because
could be.
I think he lives in somewhere in Europe. I can't remember exactly where.
I'm bad with names. I started taking notes. You can in Discord you can add a note to people. I
Mm.
started adding people's real name there.
I see.
If I had a chat with someone and we exchanged real names,
Mm-hmm.
I started to writing them down because I can never remember. And then you meet someone and you need to figure out which nickname goes with which person. It's weird.
Right. Yeah, I feel like
No, I'm
I'll
bad
I'll
with
be
names.
I'll be doing something similar in Seattle this November. I mean, I know a few of the people that are coming there already. The guy that works on ARO.work, Shmoji, Osco, lots of people that I've like seen on Twitter and like around, but never like had any extended conversation with. I'm probably gonna see a lot of those guys.
Yeah, the Discord actually, when I was still doing the WebXR in the Netherlands most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
I kept a list of names with what people were doing and like a who's who.
Mm-hmm.
But I stopped doing that. I actually should have been keep doing that. But
Hmm. Was Ruben ever part of those
yes,
the Netherlands ones?
yeah. He was there quite often.
Hmm.
Yeah, who was it? There was someone I spoke that were was working with Frame.
Hmm.
Worked with.
Gabe Baker, or just someone working with Frame and not necessarily
No, no, at
Gabe.
worked at I think.
Oh,
But
okay. Hmm.
Hello.
Hello, Matt.
who?
I'm using Wolvik on my Pico 4 for
Ooh,
the first time
nice.
in hubs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How you been liking the Pico?
It's fine. I like literally just got it a couple days ago. I
Mm-hmm.
super lucked out, and there was somebody like 20 miles away on Facebook Marketplace that was selling one
Oh,
for like
nice.
$200, which is super reasonable.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
that's
and
pretty
it
good.
and they decked it out with like an extra battery pack and all this other shit. So it was a super deal. Um, but yeah, it seems perfectly acceptable. I don't know if I can tell the difference between this and the Quest 2, at least not from a WebXR perspective yet.
Yeah.
Um,
The yeah, I know the Pico browser. Um, the if you look on like their Chinese stocks, you can see that the latest versions have like basically feature parity with like Quest browser minus some like meta specific things that it does. But like it
yeah.
has layer support and immersive AR support. But it's really frustrating because I also have a Pico 4, but my browser is like one version before all of that. And like
Is
I
it
don't
that they distribute it to China first, or
well, so like if you were to look at the thing, it was like two versions before latest is when layers and immersive AR was added. And then apparently also Pico has like immersive PWA support already.
yeah,
Like that
yeah, I
stuff
saw
that
that.
people have been asking Meta for forever. They just have it, but
Yes.
I guess it's only for CN. Um, but yeah,
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
interesting. Okay.
the Chinese like notes on there, it was like the layers in AR. I think it says is pushed to global, but I don't know if that's accurate or not. And
Okay.
then the immersive PWA thing is like on some kind of rollout. I have to remember it was using some like kind of like China specific terminology in it,
Hmm.
so I don't know quite how it translates, but
Yeah. When I was at Roblox, there was a Chinese version of Roblox called Lobu that was like
huh.
a partnership with Tencent, and there was interesting stuff around publishing updates to the Chinese app stores, basically. Like, there's a bunch of
Interesting.
interesting stuff sort of around that. But yeah, I connected with the person doing the browser development at Pico on
Mm.
LinkedIn. Um, but I'm gonna try to batch up my requests or
Mm.
questions before I reach out. But yeah, it's a very good clone. Um, and I may or may not have heard that they're just literally reverse engineering the Quest browser binary, and the only extensions that they don't translate are the ones where there's driver level customizations
Mm-hmm.
for the Qualcomm driver.
You said you connected. You talking about Dexter Yang?
I'm sorry.
Are you talking about Dexter Yang for the contact, or a different
I,
person
I
at
think that might have been the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the PM of their like immersive web stuff.
Nice. Nice. I am definitely getting stutters in this
Yeah,
headset.
hopefully. So you may have seen the note coming in, but unless you went straight to the room link, but this will be the last meetup that I'm hosting on Hub's Cloud. I'm
Okay.
gonna in the next month I'm gonna transition to Community Edition, and then hopefully that will make it easier for me to do a custom client and see if I can fix the stuttering issue with chat bubbles in immersive.
Yeah,
Because
I remember looking at with Dom when I was first getting into hubs and trying to figure out if I was going to use it as the basis of my product
mm-hmm,
for my startup. And when I was running the profiler, it was like the garbage collector was just like standard, like terrible sawtooth, like
mm-hmm,
everything's fine, and then it collects the entire world, and then it's you know. And so I think there's after talking with those folks for a long time that there's like a lot of low hanging fruit there
mm-hmm.
that just needs continuous focus and attention,
No,
and then it'll be
I
fine.
also like really wanted to figure out what was like the root cause of like the chat bubble thing because it was so annoying. And I remember I figured out it is they're using like HTML to canvas to generate these speech bubbles. It's like
Oh, huh.
putting the text in like a div and then I guess using that to like generate the bubble somehow. And it
Oh,
is that
interesting.
specific thing where I think it's like doing canvas operations or like layout plus canvas something that is causing like all of the lag, even though that really should be like on a separate process or something. And it's just you know It feels like this should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
mean it's a like there's a bunch of technical talent there. It's just like a staffing prioritization focus thing, which is I can fully empathize and sympathize with as a person bootstrapping their own startup, and it's like, what? Whoop, there's the stutter again, making me totally sick. I'm gonna keep looking this way.
Sorry.
Needs vision. What do you mean needs vision?
Like the Hubs team needs vision.
Oh. I have Vision OS on the brain right now because we're working in it a bunch.
You're in a Vision right now?
No. I'm in a Pico 4, but I'm going to be on site at Apple.
Saying vision, a visionary, a person who can take this and evolve.
Yeah. That makes no. It was
very start. I've been using
the misinterpretation was my fault entirely.
Okay. I'm just frustrated by the lack of vision sometimes.
Yeah. At AWE, I talked to Neil Trevitt for a bit about the IEEE metaverse standard stuff, and I was like, is there developer funds or anything for making open source reference implementations for some of these protocols and stuff? And I feel like, again, Hubs, I've said many times, Hubs for me is like this big proof point of the standard works. All of it's open source. Like, does it scale perfectly, or is there client or server like perfection? Like, no, but like it's probably a set of refinements rather than can this be done at all? And how can we get that work done while people,
Mozilla, what about the solo devs who are making stuff like this screenshot part-time, like with VRM support, custom avatars, GLTF worlds? That, like, if we had even just like Ash full-time, that would be amazing progress. But like, it can be open source too. It's just a solo dev without any kind of like, giant parent support with corporate sponsors,
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people that have been enthusiastic about this stuff say like, oh, well, I have $2,000 to give. And it's like, well, even if you're a single person and you're like paying rent, and even if you're eating SpaghettiOs out of a can, how much runway is that for your, and then you'd be back at zero again and have to like, scrounge and stuff. And so, yeah, the kind of scale of even one-to-one Patreon or like personal PayPal level funding for some reason isn't quite there. And I don't know if it's because 5 years ago a bunch of people got burned on XR investment, either institutionally or with people or what, but yeah, it's a little bit frustrating because the standards, the cross device standards, I think are really, really important. But they aren't there yet. Like there's no way to share a mesh that a HoloLens or a Quest 3 or a whatever can give. There's no way to share that across devices right now in a local multi-device sort of setup. That's a protocol that needs to be made and ratified and then have a reference implementation. But it's not a technical problem. It's a staffing.
To share a mesh between these programs?
Yeah, like the environmental mesh. So that, if one of the users in a multi-user situation, AR situation, has a device with a depth sensor, so the environment mesh that their device can create is infinitely better than the one that the other devices can create. There's no way to kind of share that mesh and stream the differences to the as they happen to the rest of the devices.
I don't know if you saw on Twitter, there was somebody who's been messing around with Quest 3 and like WebXR MR stuff, who like was able to export his room mesh.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but that's like it's technically feasible, but what's the protocol that you would do to do that across the
device? You'd have to like hack something together yourself to share it to like a Quest 2 or something.
Yeah, and then it's not a standard.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with it in a Quest 2? If you have that mesh, if I use my Quest 3 to get a mesh of my room, and I would share it to someone else with a Quest 2.
Yeah,
Or do
yeah.
you
So
mean when
what?
they are in my room as well?
I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
would be
So
useful for like
they're
co-location type stuff.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
For
Where
LP, is that right?
one more time?
For location-based entertainment, is that right?
Yeah, so like where
No,
everyone, or well, actually,
I mean it could be entertainment, but that's not what I'm working on.
Location-based anything then.
Yeah, just
You use it in the same room with other remote users.
not remote users. You're in the same physical
Well,
room,
local users.
local
Yeah.
users that are, and you have a shared AR situation. So I think something like exporting the mesh or exporting the plane detection, which is much better on later devices. So instead of everyone having to have the newest $500 device, only one person in that local group needs to have a nicer device, and then everybody gets the plane detection and the.
There is another way you can have a shared reference point that is set up by one, and then everyone is based on is sharing coordinates based on that reference point.
Well,
And
that's what
maybe
we're kind of talking about.
Okay.
Is that's
you
technically
don't-
feasible, but there's no standard yet. There's no
Yeah.
cross-device standard for doing that yet.
I
There's
know there
actually-
are demos on with Unity for the HoloLens to come to share your thing with phones and stuff based on point clouds.
Yep.
They share the point cloud, and you can place something in a room, and someone else with a phone can see on their phone that object in the same location.
There's
But
also-
I've not seen anything like that on WebXR.
I see
There-
two
And like-
purposes different. The purpose of raycasting and the purpose of shared tracking. If you have a reference point, you don't need to have a shared tracking. As long as you can share a mesh you generated on a device, you export it and send it over the internet. And then everyone
but
can
then-
if everyone is set up with the same coordinate system.
Yeah, but then there's things like the plane detection as well, which might be like a proprietary ASIC.
That's the
Or,
raycasting. If the raycasting is done on the mesh that is loaded from the cloud, that is generated by the high-end user, then you can do a raycasting on the walls using that emitted set mesh.
yeah, but why have those other clients duplicate that calculation when the
That's a tricky question. Then having to initiate the mesh to match the proper room, and that's the trickiest part in my opinion. Well, one way would be, for example, to have image tracking, and everyone have the same image and see it as a reference frame, and have it something that is fixed on the world, and that could be a way.
Yeah, the thing I think about is for lower end devices like a Quest 1 or even an Oculus Go for that matter. If you had a high end device that could stream them more information where the compute's already been done, so then the compute on those devices is dramatically freed up to do the rest of the application, and I've seen some things where people do this with an iPad Pro, where they'll kind of have an application that uses the LiDAR on an iPad Pro to feed stuff to like iOS devices, to like feed LiDAR information or mesh information to the iOS devices. But that's 100% proprietary and not inter-device in sort of any way. But I think about trainings in classrooms where, especially classrooms in disadvantaged communities where, access to the devices is challenging. But if they only need to buy one $500 device and then they can get a bunch of refurbished Quest 1s, and those students get double their retention of whatever the subject matter is. That's the angle I'm thinking about this from, which is not what the angle everyone else is thinking about it from, for sure. Everyone else is trying to make some shared online metaverse with NFTs, and locality is not typically what people are thinking about, or they're trying to make like a centralized server approach, and I'm trying to do things in a way that is completely offline, rather where the devices are on the same Wi-Fi, for instance, but they might be on an air-gapped secure network, and not able to kind of contact the public internet.
It remembers me of a project I worked at the master degree on XR, and one of the guys had a project where they used one of the Oculus Quest controllers as a props, and it was attached to, I think it was the equivalent of a sailboat in the wheel of the sailboat, and they were attaching it to a wheelchair, and have the user feel like they are turning the wheel of a boat.
Oh, fun.
And the controller was definitely used for something that was far from its original purpose, but they were able to use it in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
way.
yeah.
What if we have, let's think, two users in the same physical rooms, both having low-end devices? What if they bump their controllers one to each other's and use the bumping information to have a shared reference point? For example,
Yeah, I mean,
you
yeah,
can
that's
detect
that's like another idea, right? Where you don't have any high-end devices, but if you can do kind of sensor synthesis between the two low-end devices, then they each get kind of 20% more accurate or smarter or whatever else. And we saw this before with like Kinect devices, like when people figured out that you could hook up like an Xbox Kinect, KINECT device, and if you had two of them at like 90 degrees facing inward, you could get like almost a complete holographic, or now we call it volumetric, I guess, representation of a person or an object or sort of whatever.
I see.
Yeah. There's a bunch of cool stuff with the Kinect about, I guess, 10 years ago, where there was a Radiohead video where it was entirely like a point cloud of Thom Yorke's face being kind of
nice
mapped with two simultaneous Kinect devices at each angle, Kinect 1.0 devices. So these are the things I'm thinking about: is how do you get in a private air-gapped network context, whatever the device is, how can you cobble together a more accurate AR scene representation than if you just had one device? But I'm thinking about instructor-led in-person classrooms in particular, where if the instructor has the Apple Vision Pro or the Quest 3 or the Quest Pro or whatever, and all the students have, what we would call crappy headsets, those crappy headsets get 10 to 20% better in terms of what they're able to do, because they're able to kind of
connect to a mess.
Yeah.
You may want to post something in the proposals about it. There actually is an existing issue talking about like possible solutions for like shared local spaces, like in the context of WebXR specifically. Ada Rose started that. There's like some discussion I saw in there about they were talking like if you could use like anchors and like 3 points in a room to sort of like sync up like transforms for everything in a scene, you could theoretically get like something going there, but I don't think they've actually done that demo yet.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's also stuff like the Go doesn't have cameras on it, right? So it has sort of 3DOF, but with actually not bad accuracy, but like drifting accuracy. And those other devices could basically treat the Go headset itself as having its own plane, and using its front, the kind of front of that device on the head as being its own surface, and it's its own plane that should be detected in with even 3 or 4 frames of latency. And if you can send that information back into the Go headset, then all of a sudden it gets a lot more accurate, even in a VR situation, right? Because you have effectively
like a pseudo outside-in tracking, but from other headsets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
worried about the motion sickness of that frame rate, that technique, but yeah, it could be a bit better than just nothing. Like nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good tip about the that there might be stuff in the immersive web working group already that's tracking this stuff. I've been so focused on just business plan validation and de-risking the technology approach that I mean, I took inventory of where the standards were and stuff like that, but like I haven't taken a step back to go upstream to the working group, and I +1 a couple things, but like I haven't actually engaged super deeply there.
Yeah. Always good to poke them occasionally if there's something that you need, like I was doing with the room capture stuff.
Absolutely. I don't work in the evenings. So like around 5 p.m. is like the limit of my day. And even not 5 p.m., like if I have to pick up my kid to take them to soccer or whatever else, like that's the end of my working day effectively. So it's just a matter of having the time. And even when I did my first startup in 2003, that was a 40-hour a week startup. I didn't kill myself on that project either.
Fair enough.
Running yourself. Yeah.
I meant to mention this back when we were still on the vision stuff, but I was at the Hawaii XR meetup yesterday for the first time. Got to meet a lot of cool folks, demo the Quest 3. But apparently they told me that one of their members there has a Vision Pro. Like he was one of the developers that managed to get the headset. And he was maybe willing to bring it for a very off the books demo, nobody take any pictures or anything or anything like that. So fingers crossed I might be able to get
you should tell him that tell him or her tell them that they have telemetry to know when the kind of ocular identification changes.
Oh shoot, yeah.
So I probably would recommend doing that. But the dev kits, they're I wouldn't call them dev kits. Like it's not like when we got the first PS5 dev kits at Sony. Like it's where like a bunch of circuit boards hot glued together. It feels really nice, but they do there is very specific physical security things that they ask people to do. And then they've got soft backups to make sure that honest people are staying honest. They know that you can't stop someone from stealing the safe that the thing is in or whatever, but those dev kits are becoming, I don't want to say plentiful, but if you have a real application that you're actually targeting for Vision OS for day one, I would say that I don't want to say it's not hard. I would say that it's not as impossible as you think it might be.
Might be better to go through some official channels.
Yeah, and I think that the people who have some of the people that have reported like that they asked over and over again and haven't gotten anything, they also don't have anything to show. The show on the simulator. So they're not meeting kind of a minimum bar that is not unreasonable. So I'd say if you have an application that you're going to bring to Vision OS that leans into some unique aspects of that device, if you tell Apple that and go on site to one of their labs, once their team there sees your app in the lab, you will probably just get an email saying, here's a device. Or come back next week, because there's like the public labs, but then they invite people back almost weekly to iterate. So it's easier. It's easier than you might think to to get a hold of one of those. But yeah, I would definitely not get anybody in trouble
Yeah,
having
fair.
them. I mean, you could ask them like, can you go load this WebXR site in the browser and
Mm-hmm.
so that you can collect telemetry about performance or whatever else.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
like that's probably fine. But actually putting it on is
Yeah.
probably not a fantastic idea. Which island are you on in Hawaii?
I'm on Oahu.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, my girlfriend moved from Kauai, which I've also visited. It's like super beautiful over there.
Mm-hmm. I think Kauai is my favorite.
When was the last time you were here?
Let's see. We went to Alani. When was that? I want to say it was 2 years ago. And I think it was before the Omicron spike, COVID spike.
Mm-hmm.
So what would that be? Would that be like Thanksgiving? Maybe it was for yes. Yeah, it was for Thanksgiving, 2021, if I recall correctly. But we seem to go about every 18 months or to 2 years, even before we had our child. It's a beautiful place to go, and
Yeah.
not too far from
Yeah,
California.
my girlfriend and I, the beach we went to last time was one of the Ko'olina lagoons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's only like a
Yeah.
15-minute drive from where we are too, so it's like not bad at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Other than the tropical storms, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, haven't had to deal with that yet, but
Yeah. Knock on VR plastic.
yeah.
But yeah, Kauai, there's so much natural beauty there, and hikes and waterfalls, and I think it's Maui that I liked the least. You know, where it's really paved over concrete for white people. I don't know. I'm sure there's awesome parts of Maui, but in the 3 or 4 times we've been there over the last 25 years, I mean, if someone said, "Hey, here's a free trip to Maui," I wouldn't say no. But I think Kauai is my favorite. And I think Maui might be lowest on my list.
I've never been even close.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
Plane
I'm
tickets
looking at Google Maps
probably
right now, actually, to see how far it is. It's
pretty far.
quite literally. I cannot go much further. If I go further, I
It's
get
like opposite ends of the world.
pretty much.
How much is a plane ticket from Netherlands to Hawaii? Because I remember I was like, how much would it cost me to fly to AWEU? And it was like $1,200. And I was like, okay.
Does Lufthansa go directly into the Big Island? It
I
must,
think
right?
when I was looking up, I think the flight plan I saw was like Oahu, like LAX, Lufthansa.
Oh, okay, sure. But yeah, it's like Schiphol or wherever in the Netherlands you are to Frankfurt to LAX to. I mean, that's a long travel day, but it's not like going to Australia or Bangalore. Although actually, Bangalore for you is probably not a faster trip.
Yeah, no, that's probably like a 20+ hour flight though from where you are, right?
Yeah. I went there a number of times for business over the years, and as long as you know what you're in for, it's fine. Even if you don't get lay flat seats or whatever else, if you just know like you need to get up, you need to stretch, you need to wear pressure socks. You know, like there's a bunch of little pieces of travel wisdom that if you know that going in, it's totally fine. But if you don't know those things, you know, you'll get off the plane like your feet are totally swollen because of the air pressure.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of things that can make landing and then having to go tap dance for people challenging. And it's also like plus 11 hours, so it's like it just flips your waking day upside down. But someone gave me a great tip about 10 or 15 years ago, where they're like, when you're doing a big time change like that, like fast for 24 hours. So don't, like, 24 hours before you land, stop eating the plane on the food, and it helps reset your metabolic clock. That changed my life. I used to be so jet lagged and just hallucinating when I would get off the plane and it'd be daylight. My body would just like be unhappy, but that fast to reset it, and then not eating, basically eating very, very little or only fluids up until dinner time, local time where you land. That works for Bengal. I was just in Poland in September. It worked. It works very consistently. We're going to Australia in December, so hopefully it works. It
What
works
part of
then
Australia?
too. I think Perth. My husband booked it. It was supposed to be a surprise. But when I was in Poland, I was like poking around the United app to find
And you found a reservation?
and I found the reservation, and he was like, "You weren't supposed to see that." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll keep it a secret from our daughter." But like, I am surprised, just not in December.
Nice.
But yeah, that's a good pro tip. If you're changing time zones in some major way, do a fast until dinner, and then once you eat, your body will just want to go to sleep. And even if you're waking up early, like 6 a.m. local time, that's still fantastic. Versus like being all fucked up and like wanting to like take like a 5 hour nap at 1 p.m. and
No, yeah, and then after that, you're even more off.
yeah, and then you're even more ruined. And if you have to perform either like intellectually, like it's like a programming thing or a conference where you've got to talk to people in Gladhand or present at a conference or whatever, being in a having your mind be sideways about whether you should be horizontal or vertical is.
Speaking of programming, are you? Will you be at the hackathon?
The AWS one?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I applied and got into that, and I'm excited to run into more people, and I think I talked to some of the Babylon folks, and some of them are going to be there also. That'll be.
Ooh.
Oops, there's another big performance problem. Hold on. When it starts to jitter, even though I'm not moving my head, like it's very puke-inducing. Arthur says, "What got you all into the immersive web?"
I think most people know my story, so if anyone else wants to go.
Sorry, I missed it. What story?
It's like what got you into immersive web stuff.
I can. I did them separately for a while, actually. Immersive. Well, I remember getting into VR once, if like what can it be, almost 25 years ago, I think. It was one of those really, really old VR headsets where you stood in one of those rings with the big thing on your head.
Was it the VFX one?
It could be. I have no idea what it was, but it was one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had in 1998. It was guaranteed to make you sick and give you a headache.
Yes, but it was so cool.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And then I started 3D programming, and that got me an internship as a 3D designer. I did that for a while, but I was also programming, and I started. I've been thinking about when I started doing web development, and that's very, very long time ago with the very, very old browsers. I was doing things, and DHTML became a thing. But then actually JS13K was when it came together, I hadn't heard of WebXR or WebVR back then at all. And then there was this. Wait, you can do VR with web. I did VR actually, but we did back in early 2000s, and our VR was like a 3D shooter without the shooting. You can walk around and like a 3D game. We called that VR back then. We actually were looking into um, getting into Unreal Engine back then,
Mhm.
but then there was no editor or free thing like like there's now. I think it was $150,000 dollars to get a license to use the code. That's it. So you had to compile it yourself back then. But actually, when JS13K came and there was an A-frame, it was like, wait, what? You can do that? So I got a Google Cardboard and started doing A-frame, and then I was sold. This now things come together. I can do 3D, I can do VR, and I can do web at the same time. I never stopped since.
Yeah, I feel like almost everyone has that one moment they remember is like, wait, you can do VR on the web, and then it just all kind of like spirals from there.
Yeah.
Speaking of, are you working on anything right now? Whether it's for Wonderland or like personal projects.
I've been working on that Secret Circle for a very long time. A very long, well, a very long time is 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of working on a game for a game jam for Halloween, but I was spending so much time on that Secret Circle that I
Mm.
didn't have time to do anything with it. And now I like doing horror games,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do now. If I'm gonna continue working on these games, or if I will go and spend time on a Christmas game.
Hmm. Get a head start.
Yeah, well, starting in November on a Christmas game is not really. It's about 2 months you have to build a game. It's not that
Mm.
much.
Yeah, I guess depending
So yeah,
on the scope of it.
yeah. Well, scope is always an issue.
Always, always an issue.
You have an idea, and then you're
You have an
6 weeks in, and
idea,
you only have a 3D model. No game yet.
or you have an
Yeah.
idea and then you have four more
So-
ideas, and then you never
Yeah,
finish
yeah.
any of them. It's like,
It must be really cool to be at Wonderland now, though, because then you have these ideas, and it's like, you know, whatever it is that's slowing you down to implementing those things is almost like feedback for the framework and platform, right?
Yes.
Where you go like, here's the thing I want to do, but I ran out of time. That and you don't necessarily want to tune the whole framework and engine to people doing hackathons, but but it's like, could you run into these things where like, could this be easier? Like, is there a way to kind of lower that barrier to entry for you in that situation, but also like that's a reasonably like representative scenario for other just content creators, you
Yeah.
know, like how much cool shit can you make in a small amount of time? um, so it must be nice to have a kind of a direct feedback loop into that product,
Yeah. Yeah. And on one side, I learned
hypothetically.
a lot from working on that Secret Circle. Um, a lot of small things and still things we are going to improve from feedback we got, and those kind of things like the locomotion and stuff.
hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but the cool thing is, so a big part of my job is creating libraries for other people to use. So a lot of the things that are built for the Secret Circle will be in libraries for other people to use when
Nice.
building games for Wonderland. I'm working on an interaction library,
Hmm.
and that started out as a. So we have a one day a month there is this project day, and we work on whatever we want, and that's mostly for the engine developers, so they can work with the project instead of at the project. And yeah, for me it's kind of weird because I do the same thing I do every day, but then just work on a different project. That's how I started the fmod thing again.
Mm.
That was a project day project, and this interaction project I'm working on now is also started out as a project day project from a colleague. And yeah, we were kind of we're now exploring what things we need to have in there, and I have this idea of it being a library like you would download for Unity. There are a couple of those libraries like the VR Interaction Toolkit and a couple more that are just have all the things in you need to build a VR game. And it would be really cool if you just can download the library and use that to build your game, whatever game it is, so that you don't have to think about what crazy things you want to do with locomotion or grabbing things or interaction with
Yeah.
objects.
Yeah.
Maybe even reloading
Absolutely.
guns or whatever. I don't know. That should be something that should be in a framework and for others to use.
Yeah, like the
Yeah,
WebXR is like one of the last platform VR development platforms that doesn't have like a single like well-known solution for that.
No, no. And I think
yeah, there's
with a tool
something
like
about
Wonderland, there should be something like that.
yeah, there's yeah, definitely like making that React 3 Fiber application that we open sourced the we changed some of the text in it, but we open sourced everything that we did. And yeah, definitely one of the things that was surprising was in terms of like controller gestures,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you like hold a controller and you like shake it up and down, like that being a gesture that's just recognized. There's a bunch of stuff you kind of have to do yourself, which isn't
Mm-hmm.
terrible, but like standardizing some of those gestures, like up and down for like a shotgun reload or for spray cans or whatever, like spray paint cans or whatever. Um, there's a bunch of little things like that. And going back to that hackathon kind of scenario, where it's like, is it hard to write that stuff? No, but that's 20 minutes that you could have been, fleshing out your animations or applying fit and finish or finesse to what you're doing. Um, and yeah, so that sounds like a really great loop for you, but also for Wonderland. So that sounds like a great
Yeah.
hand in glove sort of fit.
But now the line between hobby and work is completely
Mm-hmm.
gone. And
Which is, as long as you are getting outside and breathing fresh air. What's that phrase? Touching grass.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're not overworking yourself.
which reminds me, I haven't touched my grass for too long actually. It needs mowing. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But as long as you're not overworking yourself, as long as you're not burning yourself out, that's not necessarily a problem.
No.
I mean, maybe there is for you in some way that I can't conceive of, but
And then spending not enough time with your family and people near you.
yeah, just
Yeah,
like
that-
work life hobby balance.
Work-life
Where it's like, oh,
phobia.
but I like doing it.
I mean, we can also touch grass in VR.
yeah.
I mean, it's,
Well,
Is anyone else working on something cool?
I've been working on a small demo. I call it a demo right now because I don't have a fully fleshed out idea quite yet, but I have like some threads I want to pull on maybe. But it started with I'm sure some of you have seen on Twitter already those like videos of people who put the like MR portal in their room and then they walk through it and then their environment is like mapped with different textures and then you can look back and you see the other thing. Yeah, so I've been doing that. I pretty much have it too. It's mainly just like playing with stencil buffers, and so it's a project that has that effect in it. It has Rapier physics. It has VRM, like NPC characters with lip sync, and I have IK, like I'm injecting IK targets to like the arms so that you could theoretically like shake the hand of one of them, which like I got the inspiration for that based off of something that another developer was asking me about, and I was like, oh, you could probably do that, and then yeah, turns out you can. And it's really nice because I don't have to do any of the IK myself. I'm using 3JS's CCD IK solver, which I found out was originally for like MMD model loading, but then eventually got like genericized, which is
What's MMD?
it's a Miku Miku Dance. It's like a Japanese animation program, but it's super prevalent, and so like you find like tons of MMD models and other stuff like that. So that's where that implementation came from. I learned as I was like checking through like some of the history on it.
It's so funny some like really key technologies and their basis comes from like these really passionate subcultures.
Yeah.
Like when I think MMD, I heard MMD, I'm like, okay, something medical, something, like
Nope.
I'm thinking like some like industrial or healthcare or like some other use case. So what you said just like delights me endlessly. It's
Yeah.
for Kitsune or whatever kind of like
Yeah. But yeah,
anime
I mean,
girl.
people
I've
always.
got.
I mean, this. I was just saying, people always use technology to make their dream come true or their wish.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I've been getting all that stuff into a project just to like one to see if I can, but also I have the vague idea for like making kind of a portal hopping room scale sort of adventure type thing. So like you interact with these NPCs, and you're like, oh, you need to go into this realm and find something, and then you just hop through a portal, but you're in your space still. And so that's why I was bugging the browser people about room captures, because this is like fundamentally a like mixed reality, like taking advantage of the latest APIs kind of experience, and so having a clear signal to know whether I need to like launch that would be very nice.
Yeah,
Really
it's a
cool
really
to
cool integration project.
Yeah.
For all those little bits and pieces.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's like now that I've done it once, I can do it somewhere else. Like Rapier, specifically, I was like, okay, I've used Rapier in like wrapping classes, or like Threlt or React 3 Fiber, but let me see if I can do it just on its own. And it turns out it's actually like not very hard at all. Which was nice for me to find out, so I can totally do that. Oh, and the VRM also has collision on the body too. It turns out that it comes with colliders in the body specifically to be colliders against spring bones. So like to make sure that the hair bounces off like body parts realistically, but I can also just use that for like generic like interactions too. So like my test is like dropping a cube on the head and then having it like actually fall off. Yeah, so I'm still debating how much more I want to throw into this one project. If anyone follows me on Twitter, I reposted that like mixed reality COD Zombies thing, and I'm just looking at that and I'm just like, that looks like it'd be really fun. I'd have to implement a lot of stuff myself, but it would be super cool.
For that like MMD file format, like is that an existing library that you're using to load that stuff in, or do you have to?
I should clarify, the CCD IK solver, that code is just like a generic IK solver right now. It was originally built for loading MMD models and MMD animations, but right now I'm just using like a Mixamo animation that's like imported like 3JS animation mixer with like a script I borrowed from another project.
Okay. What's your Twitter handle again? I'm trying to find the post you're talking about.
At msub2 official. I wanted at msub2, but that apparently belongs to a Korean person that registered it in like 2010, and for some reason that account has not been deactivated. So
Yeah, that's always annoying.
yeah.
Is there any VRM app with IK support currently exist out there somewhere?
There's one guy who's working on an app called VR Meetup. .io, and he has VRM avatars in there with some basic IK. I think it's only the arms at the moment, but
Oh, cool.
That
I mean,
zombie
it's
thing
WebXR.
is. Sorry, go ahead.
I was asking, like, it's WebXR, right? Like the
yeah,
VR
it's
meet.
WebXR.
Oh, cool, pretty cool.
I think the thing that's the coolest about that zombies thing is one, it's using the natural windows, sort of, but the zombie starts to walk, like shamble over the sofa. That's a very neat detail. That it kind of jumps through the window and then it's kind of climbing over the sofa to get to you. And it's not immaculate or anything, like in terms of like if I'm really looking at the feet, like is it contact correct and whatever, but I can see the IK in there. It sells it. Like probably if you had the headset on and you weren't watching it in 2D, nothing is lit, so that's
yeah, but also lighting
but
estimation is still kind of not everywhere.
Yeah. But in terms of like the thinking about that dancing, those models I made for the Hitsune thing. Like there was a PSVR title when I was still working at Sony. There was like a Hitsune, what's her name? Mika Hitsune.
Hatsune Miku.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I'm not an anime person.
Perfectly
but
fine.
it was a 120 hertz native PSVR title, and those were rare. They existed, but they were rare. But it was, I mean, like 120 hertz was just like so amazing, even with limitations. But I think about that title because, you could basically have a bunch of go-go dancers on your sofa. You know what I mean? Like instead of zombies and shooting things, it could be like have your own dance party with I don't know, anime avatars or whatever. And if they can climb up on your couch and you can get some kind of contact shadows. That's my big.
Yeah. Contact shadows, I think, are doable as long as you just like raycast down to plane and then apply whatever.
Totally, but that was like my big criticism at MetaConnect was I was like, with all the AR projection stuff, like none of the shit is grounded in where in the world at all. Like,
have you seen the demo with the reflection and the light radiation?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that. That's not ringing a bell for me, but
I can shared on the Discord as well. I'm not sure where I saw it.
It was that thing where it was the like the curved screen over a table, and you can see like the reflection of the.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Also,
that's hot shit. That's hot shit.
I was going to ask about that because I saw that demo and I wrote an iframe library to do like lights from video like a long time ago, and I wanted to replicate that with like on the Oculus Quest 3. I don't have one, so I wanted to know how can you light up the pass-through scene? Like, is it possible right now with WebXR?
I think potentially you would need to like. I imagine how you would go about it is like you have like a plane on top of like where your table would be, and you would just need to like. It would be like transparent except for the actual, I guess, reflection from under it. So then,
right.
I don't know the math behind it, but you just need to like calculate that, apply it to the plane underneath, and I think
you
that
can
would
put
be
a
enough to replicate it.
Yeah, but I think maybe like what he's asking is like, how can you sample the plane so that you can do your own,
Oh,
like
yeah.
rewrite it back out, and that's something you can't do because that's the same as raw camera access
Ah, yeah,
effectively.
you're right.
You don't have
And
raw
that's a
camera
security
access, right?
problem.
Not in the headset.
You
One more
don't.
time?
No, you don't have had raw camera access, right?
I think it's
You
only
No.
can.
on
And
phones
That
you can.
sucks. It would be so cool if you can do some computer vision as well. So if you
Mm-hmm.
not only know that there is a mesh there, that there's something there, but you can also say, well, just run it through YOLO. I don't know, something that does some computer vision. It just says, well, that's a table. Then your game knows there's a table, there's a couch there, and
yeah, but I
there's
mean,
actually a banana there. I know that would be so cool if you can do something like that with a game.
yeah, like from an open platform perspective, like I totally agree. But there's like a practical component of this, which is I think probably because of just the compute in these mobile chipsets, it it probably is mandatory that the platform holders optimize it for the whole system, because otherwise you're detecting a banana, but you're using like 75% of the compute on the device, and you're running the battery down 3 times as fast. Just to, and that's not a diss against anybody's skills, but like I think from an open platform perspective, yeah, we should be able just to do that and stuff. But I think from a practical outcomes perspective, especially from the user's perspective, like because they won't know that it's your banana detection that's causing the battery to go down or whatever.
They
And it's
just
not
be
it's
like,
not
oh, it's
technically
lagging.
infeasible. It just
HoloLens can do it.
The Vision Pro should be good with that, right? Do they have a neural engine on there or the Apple
I
Vision
don't
Pro?
know on the
It,
Vision Pro.
it has like two
Yeah.
chips, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
got like the M2 and the
Oh yeah,
other
absolutely.
one.
Yeah, they've got the same neural engine stuff that's in the MacBook Air. Effectively, you can think of the M2 MacBook Air as a representative device in terms of the inventory. There's some extra stuff in there to kind of complement the existing AirPods. So AirPods can do a bunch of interesting 6DoF type stuff, but it turns out not enough. So there's some extra pixie dust in the headset that the M2 MacBook Air doesn't have. But similar to like HoloLens 2, like you can't draw like we talked about the other day, Source Scoot. We can't or the other month. You can't draw shadows because of the pass through. And so, but I think what M2 is saying is that what you can do is you can put you can detect the plane and then try to put a transparency underneath it, that you make the transparency so that whatever the kind of intersecting geometry that you're trying to put on that plane is, you can kind of customize the transparency, render to texture, and then do that. Is that what you were saying, M2?
Something like that, yeah.
Some
A shadow
Hand
would be a
wave,
start
yeah.
of that.
something pixels. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But
like there's
you can't sample the plane into a texture, fuck with it, and then put it back out, because that would be the same as raw camera access. And there's the security stuff implications of that at the OpenXR level haven't been figured out yet.
so like there's no room mesh accessible or anything like that. Not even a plane where
You
I can
can-
like cast light.
You can get the mesh. You can't get like the existing like color of like whatever you'd be casting.
No,
light
no.
onto.
I mean,
Yeah.
like for example, in Buforia, you have like this special material that you can light up and cast shadows on. That's just transparent, and like the effect is that your lights interact with the room just like in an additive way. So I was
Yeah, you would
hoping for
have
something
to
like that.
you would have to texture. You'd have to apply your own material to the room mesh.
Yeah, like so. All I'm using is just a plain light, right? But there's no way to light up a room with path through. That's my That's my conclusion. So there's no hope for that.
Yeah, not in any straightforward way, at least.
Okay.
No.
Thanks.
Mm.
You can do some nice things. I was playing a little bit with one of the demos on the Quest 3 yesterday, one of those demo apps,
The first
and there
encounter.
were these. Sorry,
The first encounter.
is it? I'm not sure if it's called the first
Was
encounter.
it the thing where you're shooting the little balls?
No, that's really fun. They come, the walls break open
Yeah,
and
yeah.
those kind of things. That's fun. But there's another thing where you learn about the hand tracking and those kind of things.
Mm.
And there's all kinds of portals in there. But what I noticed was when you put your hand, it's see through, it's pass through, so you can see your own hand. But when you put your hand inside the portal, the part that's inside the portal becomes a mesh.
Hmm.
So you can see your hand half like it is pass through, and the other half is the mesh, and it
Interesting.
looked kind of cool. So I'm going to try to replicate that effect pretty soon, and I'm sure.
Interesting. You probably just need like a mesh in the like 3D environment, and then just sync it up and render with the
It's probably one of the
appropriate
portals,
thing.
portal effects.
Yeah,
I guess.
and then you just use the position of the controller to control what's rendered.
Yeah,
That does
it
sound
was,
neat,
it
though.
was really really cool. Yeah, I'm not sure how they do that with the hands. That you can see your own hand, even when it's in front of the portal. You see your own hands. So you have to have like the transparency material. Is that the pass through material on your on as a mesh on top of your hand? Otherwise, you cannot see your hand through other stuff.
Mhm.
It's probably more stencil buffer shenanigans.
Mhm.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I've done the portal things way back in 3JS, where you on a phone where you can um you have to have like there is you have to create some sort of pass through material where you basically just say, well, this pixel, just don't render it, but write it to the depth buffer. That's basically what's happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then you can see the pass through even when there's a mesh, a real 3D mesh textures and all kind behind it.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean, like for some of this stuff, they just give you a higher level API where they do all the raw stuff behind the scenes.
That would be easier, yeah.
Um,
Mm.
but yeah, this all this stencil buffer talk is reminding me of like OG Xbox, like like the GeForce 2 era of GPUs from around 2001 or 2000 or so, which is I guess right about where the GPU capabilities of these mobile chipsets are. Has anybody done like kind of more modern shader stuff? And by modern, I mean 10 years ago, like with like subsurface scattering and stuff in
Um,
any VR or
No.
AR stuff yet?
I'm not sure about like VR AR in general or in WebXR.
Uh, either actually.
I feel like for VR and AR, there's gotta be. I just don't know offhand who that would be. I know that like as far as like web graphics go, the guys over at like Poimandres, like Cody Jason Bennett and OX
Yeah.
Kaka and Nate Pixels. I've also seen do some interesting stuff with 3JS. He was doing like a global illumination demo um, a couple days ago.
So I wanted to show a little thing I'm working on.
Mm.
So like I'm trying to figure out documents in GLTF without any extensions. Like this is just a post in Markdown from someone. It's not mine, but I use it as an example. And like I'm using really old school techniques, like doing like sprite font and like a 1K texture, and then like rendering a quad per character. Like it's very straightforward, right? But
Hmm.
the idea is that we can like have really like I just can drop it here and it works and it's very readable. Like if you could grab it and whatnot, it's very crisp. So just wanted to show that I'm working in this kind of thing because it's like a really nobody's tackling this issue.
Hmm.
Sorry about that. My the battery finally ran out.
Ah.
It's good. It was a good test though.
Hmm. Yeah, it was probably like a good almost hour and a half.
Yeah, and it wasn't even fully charged.
Hmm.
So I remember the first time I joined a Hubs thing 18 months ago on a Quest 2 and I was recording video the whole time. The headset lasted 2 hours and I was overjoyed because battery life was a big question that I had when it comes to like WebXR and the overheads of it. And as we were talking about earlier, there's a bunch of low-hanging fruit in Hubs when it comes to memory usage and compute that could be fixed. So this looks like the Pico is competitive at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did talk to Cody Bennett about these kinds of complex programmable shaders, and he didn't have a reference for me. So I was curious. I know, like technically it should be feasible, but like I'm not seeing it, and I wonder if it's like you have to choose completely between that or geometry, or if you're doing it to render a human face, you can't have the geometry and the tessellation that you need and that shader at the same time. Like I hypothesize that's why, but no one's been able to tell me for sure.
Sounds about right.
Why not? I mean, and then it's really nerdy, but I'm like, is it a memory bandwidth problem? Is it just straight up compute? Is it total TDP of the SoC, or does some aspect of this start to hit CPU and not GPU? Like, there's those kinds of questions that I have that I'm curious about what the root bottleneck is. But
Arthur, this quick question about a text. Is it just like generated a GLTF or something from Markdown?
Yes, that's all it
I was
is.
not Arthur that shared it. You shared it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Arthur.
Just-
All the
sorry.
Daniel, when you have your own hubs, can we do our own like avatars again? It's really messing.
Yeah.
With the mind that
No,
everybody looks the same.
Yeah, sorry. I never got around to like fully customizing this Hubs Cloud thing, and then when I was like finally thinking about doing it, they announced Community Edition, and I'm like, okay, well now just need to roll my own.
I know someone with a black jacket was talking earlier, but I forgot who it was.
Yeah. Nah,
Sorry.
Like I mentioned, this will be the last one on AWS Hubs Cloud, and then I'm going to wrestle with Kubernetes on my VPS to get like a very basic deployment going. Last time I tried to do it, I accidentally redirected all of the other services on my VPS to the Hubs instance, which is not optimal. So
I mean, that's one way to force people in the WebXR is to just.
yeah, well, it would be less of a problem if I wasn't running like a service that actually does have like a couple hundred semi-active users that will post like a few times a day. So I'm like, need to fix this, and then apologize to everyone that was using this. But yeah, it's because I had to like add some DNS records for the hub specific stuff, and I guess whatever I did interfered with the thing. I like pointed straight to the IPs, and that maybe messed up because like all my services run behind an Nginx reverse proxy too.
Right.
So like Yeah, it's
something C name something.
yeah. I have a atypical setup for what Hub's folks have envisioned at the moment, so I'm gonna have to wrestle with a lot of it myself, I think.
I mean, it's not crazy. You're not like doing weird voodoo. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
no,
so,
the
like,
main issue here is that I don't really know how Kubernetes works still.
oh, I mean, as an input to their product stuff and their documentation, like,
Yeah.
like they like for people that have I'll say a brownfield domain situation, that they should probably make it easier to do that if you didn't just set up your DNS from scratch with nothing else behind it.
It's
to
like
date.
the like instructions on the for community edition setup, like they're straightforward enough. It's just like run this bash script after you configure it, and then have a lightweight Kubernetes thing installed like K3s or Minikube or something, and then just make sure your DNS stuff is good, and then it should work. And then I'm like,
Right.
that would be great if I had ports 80 and 443 open, but no, I think what I might need to do is like see if I can reverse proxy to like the internal cube or cluster IP, I think, to the like load balancer and not expose it to an external IP. I don't know. This is stuff I'm gonna have to mess with. Maybe in a VM before I do it live again.
Back in the covered wagon days, we used to like round robin the DNS. Do you remember that? Anyone old enough to remember that?
No.
That trick? It's like load balancers didn't exist, so you'd have like 8 servers, and you just like update the DNS record every 15 minutes, and let it propagate to spread the load across a couple of static IPs. Again, covered wagon days, but I ended up working for a bunch of networking companies because I was involved in IETF and the Internet Engineering Task Force and stuff like that. So I have like intimate knowledge of a lot of these high performance networking appliances, operating systems, and how their stuff all works. But I never learned how to configure the things because I wasn't a sysadmin at any. After I worked at the internet provider in '94, I never did sysadmin work ever again. So like at my last job at Roblox, I know what Kubernetes is, and like I learned what the words mean, but I was never hands on with them day in, day out, or even week in or month in, month out at all. So like it's its own universe of stuff to learn that I haven't gotten around to yet.
I remember I saw that, and like part of me was just like, man, can't you guys just make this like a Docker container or something?
Yeah.
Like I understand it needs to run Reticulum and like 5 other services, but still.
Yeah, but I mean, this also makes it more insta-scalable, right? Like if you have a hubs thing that gets 10,000 users versus a Docker container, if you hit a scale problem, then you have the big leap. So I haven't talked to them or about the hubs folks about this stuff, but I can reverse engineer what the logic probably is, in terms of letting the users, if some user hits some hockey stick moment in terms of user growth on a hubs instance, don't get in the fucking way of that. So I could probably
like for any like hubs based business too, I totally get like Kubernetes. You want it to be scalable. I just wish it was easier for my specific use case.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and they aren't mutually exclusive. It's just they just have some sharp corners to sand off.
Exactly. I'm sure I'll figure it out.
Probably just with their docs even. It's probably just a documentation thing more than anything.
Oh yeah, it's like they've. I know I'm an edge case, so I will put in the legwork to figure it out, and then I'll try and share my experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, you are in general awesome about that. About just like, beating your head against the brick wall until you punch through, and then you tell everybody, here's where the weak brick is. It's great that you take the time to commoditize that knowledge and send
Yeah.
the markdown PRs for the various repos and stuff.
Oh, hey, Matt.
Which Matt? Is Matt Cool behind us?
Matt Cool. He's WebXR Meet camera right now.
All right. Oh, there he is. Oh, I see. Oh, good. He didn't steal my leopard skin. I need, because if somebody steals my leopard skin, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna nod my head at you vigorously.
Also, one nice thing about being on Community Edition, if that makes it easier to update the client, I can get maybe better avatar support in here. Because I know somebody messed around with full body like Ready Player Me's in hubs a while back.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to get that in here.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it was a Hubs meetup, but it was another XR type meetup in Hubs like a
Does
year
anyone
ago.
remember who it was? Was it? It wasn't Ruben.
No, but I do remember this because I remember like, oh my god, these avatars are fucking awesome. But yeah, I don't remember who it was or there was like a not a hot tub, maybe it was a hot tub. I remember there was like a pool of water or something, or maybe it was a swimming pool. Was that the one?
Matt might remember, being Hub's community person. Oh,
Grand Poobah.
I missed that last part. What was it?
Do you remember who it was that experimented with like full body Ready Player Me's in hubs?
Yes. So there's been a few. The first implementation that was like really good was Gugunka, the Japanese agency, and then there's like a couple others like recently. I mean, the most recent one was they're called Meetabs or iTabs or something, but they're it's like an educational use case where they're doing language learning, and they have full body in there as well. But nothing like public that I know of that's like, hey, just like grab this code. And
I remember seeing someone on Twitter that was like hacking on it, like just like a solo dev. And I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, the Hubs client has a bunch of cool extension points, so it probably would not be a heavy diff on like 100 plus files or anything to make it happen.
We're also trying to pay people right now to help us with documentation, or the Hubs team is, and I'm kind of assisting with it, but it's bids up to 10K they're accepting for like a single piece of content, and I can't believe more people haven't bid on it.
Fuck me.
Like
I had no idea.
Just documenting like existing like hub stuff.
Yeah, it could be like a video. I think like for 10K, I think it would have to be like somebody with some reach that does a video tutorial. But then like I think even lower, like you could do like a blog or something, a blog post, and probably get $500 to $1,000 for that. Just like documenting how do we deploy Community Edition.
Yeah.
That's funny. You showed up and said that at the exact right time because we were just talking about the Kubernetes.
Talking about like my how this is the last meetup I'm doing on Hub's Cloud, and I'm gonna try and get Community Edition set up for future ones. But I tried to like kind of do a run and gun deployment a couple days ago just on my live server, and I ended up accidentally redirecting all of my existing sites to the Hubs instance, which was not great. So I just tore down everything I did. It was like, I'll try this again another time when I actually know what I'm gonna be doing. Yeah, because it's the instructions on the repo are simple enough, but also if you've never used Kubernetes before and you have an atypical setup like me where I'm running like 7 things behind a reverse proxy, there are some unknowns in there that I still need to like iron out myself, whether that's just like starting up Kubernetes and then pointing to like the internal like cluster IP for the load balancer like that, and then maybe that would do everything I need it to, or if I have to do like any extra stuff, that's kind of the thing that I gotta wrestle with at the moment. But then after that, I feel like I can, start like, because I think you can do a custom client easier with Community Edition, right?
I mean, easier, maybe relative, but yeah, I think it is. I think it's like,
Easier than whatever you had to do for AWS.
Yeah, like for for AWS, yeah, I would think so. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I have like no context in Kubes land, and I don't know like anybody there. So I've been just doing kind of like really cold outreach into these like Kubernetes communities and just being like, hey, like would anybody like to produce content with us? And like here's the deal. And yeah, and we just haven't received that many bids yet. So
Can you put a link up in the chat for the call to the CFP or the call to action on that?
Yeah, I can. We're actually, I think next week, Michael, the community manager at Hubs now, he's going to be putting out like a public, sort of like here's the deal, like call to action. So I think that will be probably the best. Once that's all like formula, that's probably like the best way to do it. Once it's like completely public. But I've been doing sort of like, we've been kind of seeing like, can we get it done without doing a big blast? But I don't think we can. So we need to actually open up the floodgates, so to speak. So yeah.
Oh,
so
I see. Is it just a thing on the Discord server right now?
Yeah, we were trying to be really intentional at the beginning because we didn't want to have to like go through all these bids, and we wanted to get like quality bids, but we're just not getting enough. So we have to just like open it up.
All right. Well, this is an excuse for me to rejoin the Hubs Discord.
How's it been like with like general Mozilla stuff too? Since I know that's kind of your new role, is just like.
Oh yeah. I've been doing mostly proposals for community programming, and then also, I'm trying to work in anything immersive web that I could work in at Mozilla. I try to champion and because I found that there aren't like a whole lot of people championing that now. So I'm doing my best to kind of like put WebXR. I did see that we did like this marketing report a while back, and I saw there was like immersive web was in there. So I was like very happy with that. But yeah, I hope we could do more and like fund more things and get more things going. But yeah, just this month we just had one small program with like India FOSS, and not a whole lot going on this past month. So I hope like in the future we can do more and support WebXR, more broadly.
You are probably one of our biggest advocates at Mozilla at the moment, I would guess.
That's so sad, and I'm so sorry for everybody that that's the case. But I'm doing my best. Yeah.
Wait, that's right. Can't I do a thing where I share camera?
Yeah. We see you.
Yeah, that's not what I want. I was trying to do the thing with the avatar face because.
Oh yeah. I don't think I have those avatars loaded, unfortunately.
Yeah, you gotta have the special avatar camera avatar where it's got like the video texture on there. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, I had to switch to my laptop because the battery died, so I was like, oh, can I? I remember that was super fun when we used to do it with the was it like an astronaut avatar that had that feature?
There were a couple that had it.
There's a couple now, yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I'll definitely get that in when I update the hub stuff. I think like
it would actually be fucking awesome to use eye tracking to is that no, eye tracking's not in WebXR.
No, it's not. There's like a proposal for very generalized eye tracking, but it's only a proposal. It's not implemented.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, Matt. Do you know will that still work for Community Edition, or do I just have access to like the resources?
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are all public. So a pack is just a text file with like links to the
Right.
avatars. So yeah, you could just grab those and use those. Those are all whatever license. I think it's like Creative Commons or
Okay.
anyway, usable.
Oh yeah, because I guess I would still, because the admin interface is still the same, so I would just load it like a load of stuff
Yeah,
for
exactly.
HubSpot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I see, I'm on the Hubs Discord now, and I see in the announcements like there's a couple of case studies here around doing quick starts on Google Cloud and AWS. So it sounds like a document about Matt. The way I was thinking about this is a lot of the documentation is around kind of greenfield, where it's like, hey, I just made a brand new domain, like like I don't know, Hogwarts.community or whatever. A lot of the documentation is around making that really smooth, but M2 has kind of a brownfield domain that he's used for other stuff, and that's a very I would guess that's even more common, especially for universities, where if you wanted to have like hubs.blackburn.edu or hubs.uiuc.edu. So making that documented and easy is also important. But if there's money to make the documentation shit.
Yeah, just to be totally transparent, very small budget, but there is budget. So yeah, anytime, the Hubs team wants to get as many like possible sorts of deployments out there, like examples for people, because we need something for like Azure and like brownfield deployments and all that. Like that'd be like anything really that might be like viable pathways just to getting it out there and making it easier for folks. That's what the goal of this whole initiative is. So yeah, not enough money. I mean, I'd love to see like even more investment in it, but I mean, we're just thankful to have.
I hate to interrupt you, Matt, but you might want to reconnect your mics. Kind of fuzzing out on my end, at least. I don't know if anyone else is hearing that.
Yeah, I hear it also, but it wasn't bothering me too much.
Just for the sake of the VOD later, I figured maybe I should get him to fix it.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Yeah, I'll wait till he rejoins.
He's right here.
Oh, he's still there. Oh, okay. Which channel was this talked about on the Hubs Discord, Matt?
Yeah, so we started a private thread about it for people interested. Yeah, so we were trying to just kind of like keep it a little more like enclosed, just to like just to keep like the application's number low, so we don't have to. Yeah, but I think we're abandoning that plan now.
So well, it sounds like mission accomplished on keeping it low.
Yeah, we did manage to keep it low. Yeah, I think. I think some folks here are in that thread, but it's it was kind of like an invite only to begin with.
Okay.
But we're gonna be look for it next week. We had to get legal to like look it over and make sure we didn't use any language that would get us sued.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's a long process always to do anything. Yeah.
There was a thing Dom and I talked about when he was in town for GDC. He and I met up one day, and I kind of asked a bunch of questions about when I was thinking of using Hubs as the kind of basis for the multi-user interaction for my product. We made a React 3 Fiber kind of prototype thing without multi-user capabilities, and I was kind of asking him and the other folks in the server at the time, like, how easy would it be for me to take just this React 3 Fiber app and mount it inside of Hubs so that everybody could see the same thing? And that might be a cool thing to document as a quick start guide for people that have existing React 3 Fiber or 3JS apps. like how easy is it to kind of hook them in? That might be a good case study / documentation situation that I can put one of my engineers on if it if it pays for their payroll for a month.
Yeah, what did Dom say? Did he say just build it in React 3 Fiber and just forget about it? Just build all the features out. Get Ash.
No. Like no, because I mean, there's my product plan, but then there's also like generally feeling this stuff out from a product-driven perspective in a way that maybe a lot of the other WebXR community doesn't do because they're not building. If they're building quote unquote products, it's NFT metaverse blockchain stuff as opposed to, you know, something something focused on enterprise or military or DoD type folks. And so no, we talked about it, and he was. I could probably find the thread in the Discord now that I'm back on there about here's the place where you would kind of hook in the root view and whatever else, and then it. So there's so it was technically feasible. I didn't end up trying it because I needed to de-risk my product, but it was on my list because I'm like this would be a cool on ramp for people who've messed with React 3 Fiber before, which is a lot of developers. Even outside of XR, if you go like, hey, here's a way you can take some React 3 Fiber project you did 4 years ago and import it into a quote unquote metaverse platform. That on ramp and that being documented would, I think, get a lot more kind of app developers playing around with hubs, because then they don't have to build something from scratch. They go like, oh, I already built like a React 3 Fiber tutorial or whatever, and you're saying I could just mount it in hubs. Like that could or should appeal to a bunch of people trying to figure out how to dip their toes in I hate the M word, but in a metaverse situation, as opposed to, oh, let me go learn the verse language so I can use UE, like Unreal Editor for Fortnite, or hey, let me go learn Lua so I can just use Roblox. Having an on-ramp for people that have already made interesting React 3 Fiber things might be a neat case study or piece of documentation to make. And the prototype that we built in React 3 Fiber is it's already open source. I open sourced that last year when we were done. But I think that might be a good case study or piece of documentation for a whole class of developers to go who think that maybe this is orthogonal or not, that their skills won't translate into hubs or hubs development to get them to dip their toes in. Anyway, I'll watch out for the announcement when it's public, and I'll send a proposal.
Yeah, that'd be great. I saw that. What about that making an APK out of a PWA? Is that viable? Is that a thing? We could like potentially deploy a PWA to the Quest store?
Those are different things.
Well, I mean, yes and no. So Microsoft made a thing called PWA Builder. They advertised Quest support. I was over the moon because I wanted to deploy WebXR and all this stuff, and then it turned out no, PWA Builder does not support Quest. And then somebody on the Discord was saying something about a PWA, but bubble wrap, yeah, sure, same difference. Yeah, so the understanding of that was reaffirmed for me at MetaConnect when I was talking to Meta folks about this is their app ingestion pipeline for their app store does not and is not staffed and has no plans to support PWAs. Hypothetically, they've shown videos in like sizzle reels of PWAs running, but that is not something that's actually for real supported.
There are actually PWAs in the store right now.
Well, so there are one-off things that they've done with specific partners,
Yes.
but
Build their own
it
apps.
is, but it is completely manual. So like their internal apps that are React Native based, those aren't PWAs. That's React Native. That's not a DOM.
No.
That's not a browser.
But the
but so-
Facebook app, the Instagram app, those are PWAs.
Yes. And so those are first party and they
Yes.
don't get updated ever and they're done completely by hand. They do not go through regular app ingest.
No.
And so the next fallback, I was like, okay, well, can I package Wolvik? Wolvik's approved on the Meta App Store. So if I do a PWA where I build my own Wolvik, and would that get approved? And verbally, the answer was yes. But I just found that I love the idea of Wolvik and the vision for Wolvik. It's not there in terms of visual quality and performance still a year later. And it's not a diss against them. They're great in doing good work, and maybe this will all change when they switch to a Chromium or WebKit backend. But it was not viable for me to recompile. It's viable to recompile Wolvik, and if you have an app where no anti-aliasing and tons of shimmer and the the big GC pauses are fine, cool. Then please try it. Like someone needs to do a litmus test with Meta to kind of package a credible PWA with Wolvik and see if that will get approved. But their app ingestion pipeline still, I think, that is completely optimized for Unity and Unreal and maybe some OpenXR stuff. But even that stuff requires like special dispensation from. It has to be really strategic for them to kind of go outside of their comfort zone there. So it's possible that if you're a really, really, really strategic partnership for them to demonstrate to the world that would make their stock price, demonstrate something to the world that'll make their stock price go up, that it's technically feasible, but it's not something plebs can do. And all of this is a reason why I switched my technology plan to use React Native. And just to bring over WebXR as a JSI module, because they have their first-party apps. A lot of them are React Native. You might think they're web apps. It's possible some of them are PWA web apps, first-party, that nobody else could ever submit. But from my working knowledge of the folks at Meta working on React Native for Quest, some of those apps are React Native. They're not actually a web view. But yeah, as far as I know, it's still in the same place it was about a year ago. And I asked about this again at Meta Connect directly to the people who would know. And they see that they're missing content as a result. And the general impression I get is that PWAs are for enterprise, and for the enterprise customers that they're trying to get, they don't want them to use 2D apps. They want them to be in Horizon World using Horizon apps. So it's really, really not a priority for them, which is a little bit of a bummer. But that's the inventory I got 2 months ago, or whatever Meta Connect was, kind of directly from the
That's SourceView, right? Long-tailed?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, great job at AWE EU with you and Hale on that presentation. That was good. Good stuff.
Thanks. I'm
Did you already
not
do,
called
like, a
Source
review?
Code. Wait,
Yeah.
I thought I changed my name.
Yeah, no, you never did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought I changed the name. I'll do it right away. I changed the avatar, but the name change didn't come through. So that's better.
There we go.
Hi, I've been here all night.
I knew who you were by your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just knew my voice. Yeah.
I thought I changed
Yeah, that
the
was
name.
good. That was a good preset. That was excellent. I still have my Wonderland canvas bag hanging in the background. It's been in like hundreds of Zoom meetings at this point, so
Oh, nice.
the value is real. So whatever you all had to pay for that canvas bag, it's come back. So
Cool, thanks.
Good swag is its own mystical art. Like finding a good vendor to make high quality stuff and it's actually harder than it sounds. So like a small company can nail it. That's swag works. Like good swag works because then you end up using the bag all the time. And then and then it's the kind of the branding is seared into your brain, which is the intent.
We didn't have any.
Were there a lot of people interested in Wonderland, and do you think there'll be some people crossing over from Unity? And it felt that way a little bit in the presentation. You had a couple of questions that kind of leaned into that, but did you guys have like a pretty good response there?
Yeah, I had a lot of questions before even leaving the room. It took me a while to get out. It just got stopped, and I've been demoing for 2 days straight. I barely had time to get some water or get to the restroom. It was really non-stop demos.
Awesome.
Yeah, it
That's
was really
great.
cool. Yeah, met a lot of people. I forgot names already, but yeah, it's funny. People were already on LinkedIn trying to get appointments during AWE.
Wow.
Good size.
But I have not. I don't know if I even spoke to those people. I just didn't have time to. I didn't. I was absolutely not expecting that to happen. Was nonstop.
That's a very nice problem to have.
Yeah.
That's great traction.
Yeah, it was so bad actually. I skipped dinner. I want to go out and get something to eat. I need to go get some. Well, the travel from the Netherlands to Vienna on the first day went horribly wrong. I arrived 3 hours late. At some point, I ended up on a train in the wrong direction, completely 180 degrees the opposite direction.
Oh
I needed
man.
to, yeah, which was really stressful. They actually pointed me to a train. So I had a transfer in Cologne, but the train I was supposed to have didn't even stop in Cologne. But you have an app that says, well, this is your schedule. You need to switch trains there, and if there's something up, you make sure you check the app before you leave. And at that point, the app said I needed to go to that platform and take that train. That the train did not exist there. So yeah, and then some conductor pointed me to, yeah, you need, the train goes there. I checked in the app. Well, it's right. The train goes there, but it went the opposite direction. They probably split the train without me didn't notice. So it was really stressful to even get to Vienna.
Wow.
And then after the first day, I was completely out of it. I just go take some sleep. It's I'm done. Yeah.
I remember the first time I traveled to the Netherlands in 2001. It was my first time traveling internationally at all, and I was going from Schiphol to Amsterdam to get on a train to go to Twente, and and it was like the last train of the night, and it was pitch black. Like there was like no city. There was some city lights in Amsterdam, but like once we got out and I got off at what I thought was the right train exit to hop on, because there was a transfer, but there was like no room for error. And thank God there were some other hacker nerds. There were obviously hacker nerds because I heard them talking about IDA Pro and reverse engineering, and I kind of like stuck to them like glue because they were all German. So I figured like, okay, well, Europeans probably know like have a good compass for this stuff. But I was so nervous I was gonna be lost in the it was summertime, so it wasn't too cold, but still like, we're the only like the like there's the I was so nervous and so freaked out, maybe hyper vigilant, but I was also super jet lagged. This is before I conquered jet lag. So like I was, yeah, it was a good trial by fire for international travel. And then I got to Tevente Fine and everything was great, but if those other nerds hadn't been there, for me to like go like, oh, they're probably going to, Hackers at Large conference as well. It's very likely I would have gotten confused and done the same thing and gotten on the wrong direction or something, because I was so tired and not thinking straight and so nervous.
Yeah. But now you never remember, or you never forget that trip.
No. I mean, the whole it was my first time traveling internationally, so we went to the Internet Engineering Task Force in London, and then I went to the Netherlands, and then I went to Berlin, and there's a bunch of epiphanal moments and people I met back then that I still am friends with and know to this day, from that trip 22 years ago, because I'm older than God. That I still remember very, very fondly. And so now when we go to like Amsterdam, we were there in Amsterdam last August, I want to say, and it's so chill because I'm much better traveled, but also we're not trying to do train transfers at midnight or anything like that.
Yeah, I had it the way back if I would I had 3 hours. I was 3 hours late, but the train I was on from Utrecht to Cologne already had an hour delay almost. And if I would go home and had an hour delay, I would miss the last train. So yeah.
There was a misstep, travel misstep on that trip in 2001, and that was coming back. It was a big unwind. So I was taking a plane from Berlin to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to London, and then London back to San Francisco. And the flight from Berlin to Amsterdam was a commuter flight. So it was like an hour. But like commuter flights, some of them just get canceled because there's not enough people on it, and they just move them on to the next flight. And the travel agent didn't give me enough wiggle room. So when one of the commuter flights was canceled from Berlin to Amsterdam, it meant I was going to have to get from one end of Heathrow to the other in like 10 minutes or something. and I did try, which was stupid. I should have just said fuck it. But I remember I just had to stay in London an extra night, and the customs immigration people were extremely unhappy with me. They were giving me a lot of grief, and I'm like, I am already traumatized right now. Please stop yelling at me. They're like, everybody else caught their flight, and I'm like, leave me the fuck alone. So I stayed in London for an extra night, but I had to be at Heathrow at like 4 a.m. to be in line on standby for the next flight. It was thankfully all of the IETF people were still in town, so I got to hang out with them an extra night. But it was I think the most stressful travel I ever had. But it was I had nothing but positive memories when on the whole from that trip. But how long were you on the train going the wrong way before you realized?
I realized almost immediately.
Okay, so you got off at the next stop and.
Yeah. Luckily, the next stop was only like 15 minutes in or something. It was really close to Cologne. That was lucky, and I got a direct connection from that station to Vienna in like another 20 minutes. So I was kind of lucky there, but at first I was like, oh no, sometimes you just had like a stop for not another hour and a half or something. And yeah, I did not have a ticket for that train. So like, yeah, right. So I was trying to find the conductor on the train, but I found the conductor. They were talking on the phone, I was standing behind them, just waiting for them to just stop talking so I can explain what's going on. And then they just
Mhm.
passed me and ran off in another direction. I was like, well, fuck it. I will see what happens.
Yeah, there you go. Sometimes you just have to roll the dice.
Yeah. I didn't dare to go back to first class. I had first class tickets on the way over to Vienna, but I didn't dare to sit first class on that train. I just stand by the door.
Yeah,
Don't get
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Once, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the kind of vigilance of like fuck, and you had someplace to be at a certain time as well. Um,
Yeah, our talk was next morning at 10. So I could not even get there later because then I would miss our talk. So it was kind of if I just stayed overnight in Cologne or something, I would just miss our talk. It was like 10 hours or something. The train I got, so the train I should have got, but skipped a whole lot of stations, and the one I got stopped pretty much everywhere.
oh man,
And
yeah.
I had seats reserved, but so it started in Utrecht when the carriage I was supposed to be on did not come, so I need to sit somewhere else in a seat I did not reserve. So the seat I had reserved was on a train that wasn't there. Then I got on the wrong. I got out, and the train didn't come. So I needed to go on another train again in a first class seat, but I did not reserve. So a couple of stations in, someone else came and said, "Well, you're in my seat, so I needed to move." From that
Mhm.
point on, I was like, "Yeah, well, every stop, someone can get in and says, well, this is my seat." So that was really stressful. I did not want to take my laptop out and plug it in and set
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
up again
yeah.
because I knew every stop, and that was like every half an hour, the train would stop again. Only until it became later in the night and not many people got on or off the train anymore, I got onto my laptop again. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
got there.
especially for speaking engagements, I always land 2 days before. Just to, I mean, it wasn't big of a time change for you, but for me, just to get
No,
on local time and to
no
just
time change.
space out the stress, you know.
Yeah, well, I had been thinking of going, but yeah, I needed to leave the family alone as well.
Yeah,
So,
fair enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it turned out it for some reason everything went wrong here back home.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's just unlucky shit upon unlucky shit. It was, yeah.
But at least you got all these media requests and stuff coming out of it, so it wasn't for nothing.
No, 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 no. And I
So it
hope
sounds
that,
like the overall return on investment was a good one.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Has
Yeah,
there
for
been a
sure.
big bump in the Wonderland Discord since the talk?
I don't know actually. There have been um people coming in. I can check right now, of course. Um, it's kind of hard to see.
You just go look in the welcome channel, right, and see how many people
Yeah, there's
filed
no
in the last
welcome channel. Everybody waves when they come in. So when in the WebXR, we have the welcome channel, and it's just like only the system messages. So you can really see nicely every day when people come in. But on the Wonderland Discord, it's more like the general channel. So sometimes people say something there and they wave. So it's kind of hard to tell how many people.
Yeah, we just got to go page views on the main page, I think is the Wonderland site. So that's what I want to know after the AWE presentation. How many people went and checked you guys out?
I think right after the talks, a lot of people came in. Way more than normal. Just a couple, the 2 days of AW, a
Cool.
lot more people came in.
How big was the
That's
crowd?
great.
Also, it's kind of hard to gauge from the video.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention a couple of things. Ah,
You practiced a million times, and then you're on a stage and you forget everything. It's so bad. Yeah, I wanted to mention the YouTube channel and just forgot. I really
Oh, yeah,
practiced
yeah.
on that. Had all the cues there, but oh well.
As long as you got some canvas bags distributed, you're good.
Sorry?
As long as you got a couple of those bags, those canvas bag swag out there in the world.
No, I just. You were talking about swag before, and I just realized I don't think we had any swag.
Gasp.
Yeah, but
Jonathan
we
dropping the
had
ball.
AR cards, but that's not really swag. We had coffee. That was really busy.
All right. I think it's been about 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Matt, how's your Monterey area tech meetup thing going?
Yeah, pretty good. I've sort of abandoned doing meetups myself, and we're just doing joint stuff with CSUMB because they do better meetups anyway. So yeah, I'm waiting on the next big kind of CSUMB meeting, and then we're like their community, like local community group that they invite to things. So that's kind of cool. And then yeah, maybe looking at ways I can just not have to do so much work to like organize, you know, because it's just too much to like. I got to get a venue and put it all together.
Yeah.
But I mean, the last one was fun. But yeah, I just haven't been really like inspired to like do another one because it's just too much work.
Is the naval school down there? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. Navy postgraduate school. Yeah, they're there. They're interesting. They have. They definitely have. I remember when I was a kid, they had like a holodeck already. And I was in like middle school. I think it was, I don't know what that 99 or something, 2000. And they were already doing a bunch of stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of tech stuff happening there, but they tend to be pretty like separate from the civilian population, especially now, like these days. It's like all closed off.
Yeah, they were one of the early customers at my first startup in 2003. And they were great customers. The reason that occurs to me is I wonder if they just have a space that you could use for the venue, and they love it because then people know about that they're a technical site in that area. I wonder if that's a.
I definitely reached out to Tom Lyons over there, who's like their alumni person. Definitely reached out to them. I don't think any of them showed up to the last meetup, but yeah, that's a good. I mean, if I was looking for venues, that would be a good one. Except I think they need everybody to like. I don't know if it's really easy to get on their campus these days. It's pretty locked down.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah,
I never went on site there myself. They just sent me a check and I FedEx them a thing. But I remember they were pretty hip and progressive from a technology perspective, and that could translate into them wanting to, be more like host things in that community.
That's definitely the right train to go on. I like.
Cool. Yeah, I know that there's meetups in Scotts Valley as well, but that's not exactly sort of the same-ish area. Anyway, this is a great chat. I miss showing up for these things. It's good to catch up with everybody.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Same.
Cool. Yeah, Santa Cruz Works has a YouTube channel as well. I actually just started watching that because they've got some good their YouTube channel's got investor advice stuff that I watched a couple other videos and it was pretty useful. Yeah, and it makes sense that there's a community down there. just I don't know. I'm very San Francisco and South Bay centric because where I've lived for 25 years. But yeah, yeah. On the I'll watch out for the pubs documentation or the grant thing. I talked to is it O'Shaughnessy? Was that the guy's name?
Oh yeah, John. Yeah. John's in the larger group now, but Michael and Jacob are running stuff.
Yeah. Like I talked to O'Shaughnessy, must have been a year ago, about developer grants and stuff like that, and that didn't kind of come together. So this is something I've been interested in, and I'm excited to see it open up. So I'll keep my eye out. I'm back on the Hub's Discord again. I exited literally 30 Discord servers, most of which are like Patreons that I like gave to or something like that, just to reduce my information overload. But I joined back up, so I'll get alerts if that gets announced in the announcements channel. All right, awesome. Well, have a good Sunday, everybody.
Yep, likewise.
Yes, you too.
Yep, see ya.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.